Hi, I'm Stacie.
And I'm Kristi.
Hey, welcome back to Art After Dark. I'm Stacie, and today Kristi and I are talking about something every creative eventually runs into: launching a product for the first time. We both make and sell art calendars, and in this episode, we're pulling back the curtain on what that actually looked like: the nerves, the fumbles, the weird thrill of a stranger buying your thing, and what we'd tell our past selves if we could go back. Fair warning, we do not have it all figured out, but we think that's kind of the point. Let's get into it.
Hi, Stacie.
Hi,
Here we
Chris.
go again.
Yes, season 2, episode 5. We are talking about launching a product.
hmm
Yeah.
So, take us back a year ago, well, more than a year ago now, to your calendar launch. What was going on in your head days before it happened? How did it go?
I mean, I feel a lot of nervousness, but I've been told that the feelings in your body that are nerves are the same as excitement. So if you flip it in your head, then you can tell yourself that it's excitement. So my knee jerk reaction was nerves, but I do think I was excited because I am proud of it. And the fact that I committed to creating 12 illustrations, all using gouache with colored pencil, like to have a theme and to, see it all the way through. I felt proud of that, but I was nervous. Yeah,
hmm
leading up to it, obviously, because you want it to be a success and it's sort of, um, you're putting yourself out there and you want it to be well received.
Yeah.
But when you launched your calendar, because this is the second year you've done a calendar,
Yeah.
so was there a moment, maybe in your first year, maybe not so much in your second year because you're already a pro at this point, but was there a moment when maybe you talked yourself out of it or delayed it? What were sort of the things you might have been telling yourself?
So, the first year I did a calendar, it was honestly kind of a last minute decision. I think I decided in October or maybe the end of October that I was going to do a calendar. And I looked through my existing artwork. I had like the bones of an idea, and I just sat down and started making each month. I made a plan, and then I just started ticking everything off the list. And I wish that every year was like that. um, the second year was, a little like similarly quick, but not anywhere near as fast as that first year. And this year, I'm going at like, the speed of molasses. Like, um, we'll see if I make it for the academic year calendar. But yeah, I think I had that attitude of like, let's just do this and do it fast and see how it goes, which I don't always approach everything that way, but I think for the first calendar, it made it even lower stakes,
Mm,
because I just was like, I've never made illustrations, I've never made a calendar, I've never done a set of 12 of anything, and just like went for it. And it went okay. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Kind of doing it quickly. Also, I think you get out of your head. You don't have a lot of time
Mhm.
to overthink it if you're really trying to get it in for the holiday season when people are looking at buying calendars. Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
interesting strategy. Maybe I will try that this year.
I don't think it was a strategy so much as
Okay,
a
I
last minute idea.
quote strategy. Quote
Yes.
strategy.
Yeah, you could use it as a strategy now, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So did your finished product, did it look how you hoped? Was there something about it that surprised you?
I was very pleasantly surprised with how well it turned out in my mind.
Mhm.
I was a little suspicious of the colors maybe not being accurate or it not picking up the texture of the gouache and
Mm,
the colored pencil. And I will say, this is not sponsored by Gelato, but Gelato, if you'd like to sponsor us, you print some really beautiful calendars. I was
Yeah.
very impressed with the quality. One thing that did surprise me though was the actual size. I knew what I was getting into. I knew I had measured it and I knew it was big, but also I have a very small house. And so this calendar takes up a huge portion of my wall. So I
Mhm.
think getting the proof and like seeing it and actually holding it, I was like, oh, this thing is a lot bigger than I expected. But I like it because not everyone has a small house like I do, and the illustration is big, and I really
Yeah.
like that of it. And I think that the illustration looks really good. I can see I'm looking at it right now. I can see all of the textures, and you really get that handmade feeling from it, which is what I wanted and why I went with gouache was to put that handmade effort into it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I will say that definitely surprised me. Yeah.
I had the same reaction when I got my first calendar printed. I was just kind of, I think I made one illustration and I just requested a print of like a bunch of blank pages and that one page because I was not convinced. I was like, I don't think this is going to work. And so I was like, before I waste my time, I'm
Mhm.
going to print this one page. And it came in the mail and I was so surprised. I was like, oh, okay, I can keep going. Like, this is going to work. um,
Yeah. Yeah, and you feel good standing behind it, you know.
mhm.
Um So, what did your launch actually look like? And if you want to talk about whichever time you've launched it, I know we sort of talked about this idea of a strategy of keeping the bar low, doing it quickly, getting out of your head, and that's not really a strategy necessarily. But what was your strategy in the launch? Was it just like, here it is, hope for the best, or did you actually like have a plan?
I'd say a little bit of both. I think I've only had like one, what people would call like a formal launch of anything, and it was a course. And if by comparison, my calendar would have been like a very like throw the spaghetti against the wall kind of situation and see what happens. Um, so I have an email list. There were certain things that I knew I wanted to do. So I sent an email to my list, basically saying, I'm working on this. This is coming. And then when it was finished, I sent another email, saying it's here, it's done. And then for the next several months, I made sure to post about it on social media like once a week. Whenever somebody made a purchase of the calendar, I made sure to like do like a shout out in my Instagram stories and just say, thanks Stacie for buying the calendar and like then put another link to the calendar. In that little story, I did find that was very effective,
Mhm.
surprisingly. And then, I mean, I made some Pinterest pins, I did all those things, but I wouldn't say it was incredibly strategic and planned. It was more like, I'm going to check these things off the list and, you know, as long as it gets done, great. But I
Yeah.
didn't have like something that I was building up to or like any kind of strategy in that way. Like, I really just wanted to say, this is available. If you want it, great. If you don't, that's all right too. I'd say the only other strategy I also utilized was, you know, very kindly, people who I actually know, right, bought the calendar. And so for some of those in the early days of the listing, because I was selling on Etsy, I actually reached out to those people and just said, would you be willing to write a review? You know? And so they wrote reviews for the calendar. And I feel like, that helps. I know when I buy something on Etsy, I look at the reviews.
Mhm.
So I did do that as well. But I
Mhm.
mean, that's really the extent of my launch. I mean, I barely can even call it that because I don't know. To me, launch implies a lot of effort, and this was not much effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I any launch, anything I would do for a quote launch is a lot of effort for me.
Yeah.
Just have a very hard time promoting my stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I think I did not have a strategy. I knew I had an email list, I had Pinterest, and I had Instagram. And I knew I needed
Hmm.
to do something on those. And I also had a very inactive YouTube channel. Still do, by the way, highly inactive. But I just thought, well, I need to do something for all of these things.
Hmm.
But I think we've talked about this before too, this idea of needing to get the message out more than once. Like one and done is not enough. And just because it feels like it is to you, it takes 10 times or something like that for people
Yeah.
to begin to register it. So sending one email about it coming, I did that. I sent an email once it was available. I did the Instagram post, and I did steal your idea about giving shout outs because I think that's just a great idea. But then now that I think about it, I don't remember whether or not I also included a link to purchase it. It might have just been a hey, Kristi, thanks,
Yeah. Yeah.
like no link, like literally the missing link. Yeah, so it was really, I was very tentative and sort of just like barely pushing the boat out on the calendar. So there's a lot there to think about for this next round, which doing an academic calendar is kind of now's the time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
when you did launch it, what was your response? Like, what was the response that you got? And what did you think success looked like for launching this calendar?
For me, success was somebody I don't know buying the calendar. Like that's
For
all I
sure.
wanted.
For
Cause like the
sure.
first, like 4 or 5 sales were all like, I was like, oh, I worked with that person before. Oh, I grew up with that person. Oh, it's like, again, like so nice, so kind, much appreciated. But the first sale that I got that was from somebody I did not know, I was like, oh, now we're talking. It's just
Yeah.
like something's working, whether it's like people are searching for how my listing is worded or, they're just, for some reason, this got served to them on social media, whatever. They found this thing and liked it enough to pay for it. So for
Hmm.
me, that's what it was. I didn't have a number in mind, like how many calendars I want to sell, because I just didn't have any idea, you know, what to expect. So I just went in with like, again, like the low expectations. um, I think in the end, my first year, I want to say I sold like, it was somewhere between 30 and 40 calendars,
That's amazing.
it felt pretty amazing. And like, I've since, I've redated that calendar. Like when I do my academic calendar, that will be the third time I've redated it. And it keeps selling. And what's really interesting is I've had people buy my calendars in June.
Mm,
And this was before I did an academic calendar. So this is like the year is half over and somebody's buying a calendar,
yeah.
which blew my mind because I was just like, I would never do that. So the fact that somebody did was just like, huh.
I'm
Because I
guilty. I
was
just
gonna
bought
just,
a planner. I just bought a
oh,
planner for this year because I was not happy with the one I was using, and I was like, well, 7 months is better than 7 more months of one I hate.
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I
Okay.
agree. For me, it was the same. It was just anyone who's not family and friends buying one. As much as we love the support of our family and friends, my
Mm-hmm.
cousin bought two. She was the first one. Um, yeah, it's a thrill when someone you don't know finds your listing and then purchases the calendar. And then
Yeah.
the response that you were getting, like, I don't know if you got any feedback from people about the calendar or any any responses that might have surprised you. Yeah,
I
but
don't, I mean, I got some nice feedback, that wasn't from people who I had like solicited the feedback from. So that was nice. Um, this year, my fruit calendar, somebody was kind of promoting artists' calendars and they bought my calendar and have posted about it when like the month changes. They did it, in January and I think February. So that was surprising to me because it was also somebody that I don't know personally. Like I see their posts on Instagram and I like them, but it's not somebody that I know very well. So that was really nice and unexpected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice. Good. I know I mentioned earlier this idea of, putting this calendar out and sort of like being a little bit afraid of how it might be received, or you might be shy to promote it, or feeling uncomfortable talking about it. And it reminds me a lot of, I've read a couple of books by Seth Godin, who is like this marketing guru. I don't remember the exact book, but it's orange. And it was actually very, very good. And one of the quotes is basically about marketing begins before the product is launched. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't go through all of this and you make your calendar, you get your sample, you take your pictures, and then you launch. The marketing of it actually happens well before you get to that point. And I think for artists, I think thinking of it in that way can kind of help reframe. So, because it feels very uncomfortable to ask people to buy something if you have no relationship with them. So,
Mm-hmm.
bring them into the process by showing, overhead video of you making the paintings or drawing. If you're using your iPad, you can do screen recordings on your iPad. Bringing them into the process, sharing little tidbits with them in your email list. If you send an email newsletter once a month or something, or if you send it more than that, include a little section about things that you're working on. Bringing people in, and that actually helps build trust. They see the process, it builds excitement, and then ultimately they can be on board before you ever even say, here's this thing. They feel like they're part of the journey because they've been like going with you. There's that word, journey. They feel like they're part of the quest
Yeah.
because they're with you the whole time while you're working on it. And I think that will help take some of that anxiety out of just being like sticking your head out and going, here's my product, buy it. So maybe that's something that might help people if they think about it in that way. And you're making the work anyway, so maybe you just take a couple of. It doesn't even have to be video; it can be pictures, just pictures of your sketches, pictures of your work in progress, things like that, or your
Mm-hmm.
inspiration.
Yeah.
We both did fruit calendars, so taking pictures of the farmers market or something, anything like I think would help build the marketing runway before you actually launch.
Yeah, it's so funny. You're mentioning this and I'm like, wait a second, I actually did this for the
Oh,
fruit calendar. I forgot about this. Oh boy. So I made 3 YouTube videos that were like, I'm gonna make a calendar, I'm gonna show you the process, I'm gonna like launch the calendar. And so it was exactly that. It was this is my process for making this thing. And I made it alongside, as I was doing it and posting those videos. I probably should have like taken that content and like, you know, spun it out into other things, but I didn't. But I mean, it's true. Like as long as you're in the practice, right, of, documenting your process in whatever way you're comfortable,
mhm.
um, all of that is usable, to get somebody excited about what you're making.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to bring them in. There's this other idea of um, the smallest viable audience. I personally struggle a lot with even understanding who my target audience is. But
Mm-hmm.
this idea of you're not, by marketing to everyone, you're basically marketing to no one. So trying to find those people who are going to be most interested in what you're launching, the product that you're offering, and speaking directly to those people. I realize that we are hosting a podcast and we're trying to give advice. I have absolutely no advice in this category because I struggle with this myself. I don't know who I feel like, I mean, my audience is me. It's people like me that like what I like. I don't know if that's good enough or if that's the right answer. So like when I do my marketing, I use phrases and wording and approaches that appeal to me. But I don't know if that's right. I mean, I didn't sell very many calendars, so maybe I'm doing it wrong. And also I know I'm not doing it enough.
Yeah, I think you can think, you can go through all these processes where somebody helps you define your audience and, their age and what they do. And I know for most people, it's like my audience is me
Mhm.
or me like 1 year ago or, but it's essentially yourself. Um, but I think that it's over time that you actually start to see the nuance, right, in who the audience actually is, which is why it's so hard, right? Because you feel like you're talking into a void for a long time. And it's not until somebody starts responding to you that you actually realize, oh, okay, now I have more insight into who my audience is. And I can, either adjust what I'm doing or what I'm doing is exactly right. Like I'm gathering the people I want to gather.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a really common struggle for artists is like we want this audience. Who are they? Where are they from? Like how are we
Yeah.
going to get them? And there's so much noise that it's really hard to find people, but as long as you're, having a certain amount of consistency in putting yourself and your message and your product and whatever it is out there, then in theory, you're going to start gathering those people. Um,
Is it kind of like if you build it, they will come?
Kind
I
of.
mean,
I
like
mean,
your people, like if like you're saying, like being consistent and showing up, and the people that it resonates with will gravitate towards you.
right. But I don't think it's just you build it and they will come. It's you build it, you talk about it, you talk about it some more, you keep talking about it, and then they come.
Okay,
Because I think
that's
that's
how
what
I
I mean.
felt.
I'm prone to this as well. I would complain to you about this like last week. I was like, I made this thing and nobody's buying it. And you said, well, are you talking about it? And I was like, well, no. And it's like,
Yeah,
fine.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I get very self-conscious and I feel like people don't want to hear about it. And so then I don't talk about it. And then I wonder why I've only sold like 10
Mm. Well,
calendars.
so with that idea, is there anything that you think you'll change about this like next launch or that you would have changed about your first launch thinking about this smallest viable audience idea?
I mean, I like the idea of the smallest viable audience. I'm uncomfortable with it because I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what that looks like. I think the one thing that I should do, this is also sort of an issue that I'm having right now. And we have talked about this briefly in our one-on-one weekly co-working sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I have created an academic calendar. It's just my fruit calendar, but it starts for the academic year and it goes on. So I redated and I added the new months, whatever. I have the sample. I have had the sample for more than a month. I've taken photos. I have not posted it to Etsy. I have not talked about it. I haven't planned it. I just feel sort of like why go through all the
Mm-hmm.
trouble to sell 0 to 5 calendars. I know it's not the right attitude. Um, so I'm working on it, but I think it's just uncomfortable for me to put myself out there, but that's what I have to do. I just have to do it. If I want it to be seen and I want people to know about it, and I'm proud of it. I mean, I think it's a great
Okay.
calendar. I'm getting in my own way, like at this
Yeah.
point. So I think I really need to just take myself out of it in this way where it's like, I've said in the past, like when it comes to marketing, I can see what other people should be doing and I can tell them what to do, but I can't do it for myself. And I need to just like
Yeah.
do that. So I definitely want to do a better job of announcing it more, showing up more frequently in the places where I have, Instagram, Pinterest, email,
Mhm.
and see what happens. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's hard, right? Because I feel like I've been going through this a lot. It's like, do I not want to do this because I'm tired, I'm bored, I have other life stuff I need to do, or do I not want to do it because I'm done doing it? Like I don't want to do it anymore. And that's really hard to figure out, right? Because then I know like the first academic calendar I sell, I'm going to be like, "Ooh, this is fun." And so, that's which then it's kind of like, okay, well, no, I am having fun. Um, but I think, you know, I have not read, maybe I've read one Seth Godin book. I'm not even sure. But he, from what I've gathered, he also talks about how great marketing, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about what problem can this thing solve?
Yeah.
And so, maybe that's a mindset shift that you can have around marketing, right? It's like, and sometimes I think artists have a hard time with that because sometimes the problem you're solving is you're making something prettier. And I
Yes.
think artists have this like thing where like they don't value that, or they're like, well, that's not important. It
Hmm.
is really important. Like, I don't want to live in an ugly house with no color and no joy. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I think a lot of artists struggle with is figuring out what problem am I solving? And then the only problem they can think of is beauty.
Hmm.
And that's a real problem. Like, people want that solved. And so, even if, like, for me, I have your calendar, it's in my office at work. And when we talk, actually, when we meet, it's like right, up in the periphery here. Um, and it makes my office feel more joyful, more fun. Like I like it being there. And I like it when I change the month and the month that it was a mango, I don't February, I don't know what month it was.
March.
Um, somebody walked in, like stepped into the doorway of my office and they were like, "Is that a mango?" And like they were excited about it. And I was like, "Yeah, it is a mango." I was like,
Sweet.
it's just so funny. But I think that's something that can, if you can think about that when you're trying to market, it might be easier than talking about yourself.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I just need to get over my own ick factor.
Hmm.
Um, but you're right. Yeah. This idea of solving a problem for someone, it's maybe there's another word for problem because having a wall calendar to me isn't a problem that people have. It's just, do you want a calendar or not, kind of thing in my mind. Um, so maybe problem for me personally is I struggle with that word because I just don't think that a calendar is really solving anybody's problem. Like there are a lot bigger problems in this world that's not about a calendar.
Well, we're not
But
talking about world hunger problem. We're talking about like,
no, it's not
I don't
that
know what
level of
date it
problem.
is. I need this calendar.
So I do think that reframing it as some, like, thinking more about the person who's receiving it than my own insecurities about talking about it.
Hmm.
And as a person who loves stationery and is obsessed with all things planner, paper, pen, whatever, you'd think it would be a lot easier for me to do this, but it's a struggle. And and
That's
again,
fair.
like, this episode we're talking about launching calendars. Obviously there are going to be some people in our audience who are launching $2,000 courses or whatever. This might feel like it's very small scale compared to
Hmm.
that, but I think that it's still, the feelings are still there. And you don't, I mean, I don't think you just start with a $2,000 class. I think you start launching things that are smaller and work your way up, but I could be wrong.
I mean, that's what I would do. But,
Yeah.
there's people who really go for it.
Just go for it. um if you could go back and say like one thing to yourself the night before you launch, what do you think it would be?
It's gonna sound really cheesy, but like just have fun. Like don't worry about it, you know? Like I don't know. We're both in, or at least I can speak for myself. Like I'm in this very privileged position, right? If my calendar fails, it's okay. Um, all I've lost is my own time and the cost of one sample, and that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think, that's a good reason to for me to just like think about it as something that I can enjoy and have fun doing. And for me, a lot of it is about like, will this work? Like that problem solving aspect that I really enjoy in life, and in work. So I think I would really just say like, just have fun. It's gonna be fine.
It'll be fine. Like we
Yeah.
said, this isn't problem with a capital P.
Hmm.
This is something joyful, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
So, what is one thing you did that you're actually proud of, even if, nothing else went the way you planned? There has to be something that you were like, I did this thing.
I mean, big picture, it would just be for the first time ever in my life, I made a series of paintings.
Hmm.
I've never done that.
Yeah.
I think on a smaller scale, I did make a YouTube video that sort of it was after the fact, it sort of walked people through how sort of turning an obsession into gouache and following this weird desire to just paint fruit. Like I still am obsessed with painting fruit and it's over a year now. I don't know what that says about me. I don't know when it's going to go away, but I think making that YouTube video, which is also very uncomfortable for me and all of the things that go with that. So yeah, I think just those two things right there are pretty big. What about you?
Yeah. Oh, something I'm proud of. I mean, for me, it was kind of similar, like making 12 illustrations that are like, a set. I had never done anything like that. Um, and I never thought I could do something like that. So it was really interesting to have finished it and be like, "Oh, you can do that in any way that you want, right? It doesn't have to be like a picture book, you know, elaborate set of illustrations. It can be whatever you decide." And I felt really good about that. Like it was, like I said, it was something I never done, and it was exciting to see that it happened.
Yeah, should
Yeah.
be proud of that. And now you're
Yeah.
doing it again with totally new designs.
Mhm.
So once you do it, you know that you can. So it
Exactly.
makes doing it the next time hopefully a little bit easier because you know you can do it.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Well, if you have a product idea that you have been either sitting on, or it's in a drafts folder, it's in a sketchbook, um, and you want to just tell one person about it, see how it goes, and that might get you. We're not saying to launch something, we're just saying, just say the words out loud that you want to do this thing, right? And then maybe somebody can either ask you about it later or hold you accountable if that's what you want. But sometimes just saying it out loud makes it more likely to happen, right?
Yeah, you're just like planting that seed.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing it with one person will help, I think. Saying it out loud, it's like when you say like I am an artist,
Mm.
it gives you sort of this empowering feeling. So if you say I want to make a calendar for 2027,
Mm-hmm.
like you're just putting it out there into the world and it starts to take shape on its own and starts the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And that also goes back to that idea of like how the marketing starts well before the launch. You're not
Yeah.
posting anything about it, you're just sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe in the comments, tell us one thing. We could be that person for you. You could tell us what is the
Yeah.
thing that's been
Yeah.
living in
Tell
your
us about
head
it.
that you want to get out.
Yeah. All
Okay,
right.
well, can we please put that in the outtake?
I know. Should put it like deep in.
All
Oh
right.
my God.
Do we want to move on to the next one?
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening to Art After Dark. If you connected with today's episode, we'd love for you to subscribe and share it with a friend who's on their own creative quest. And if you want to follow along with our work, you'll find all the links in the show notes. Until next time, keep creating, and we'll see you after dark.
Because we don't really actually know what we're doing.
No, we don't
To a
tell
certain
people how to
degree.
do stuff.
You kidding me?
Don't listen to us, man.
Can we please put that in the outtake?
I know. Should put it like deep in.
All right.
Oh my God.
Do we want to move on to the next one?
Yes.